Hi everyone, we're Group 3. Today we're discussing excerpts from John Berger's Way of Seeing. The central idea is that publicity or advertising is the primary language of our consumer culture. Berger argues that publicity doesn't just sell products, it proposes a transformed version of ourselves. It manufactures glamour and relies on the spectator's envy of their future self, the person they will become once they buy the product. Essentially, publicity is a system that remains eventless because its only purpose is the promise of future satisfaction that can never be fully reached in the present.
Hey, this builds directly on our class discussion about media as a form of social control. In previous centuries, control was often maintained through deprivation or physical force, but Berger argues that modern capitalism survives by imposing a false standard of what is desirable. Publicity experts enormous influence by forcing us to define our interests narrowly through acquisition, by making all other human needs subsidiary to the power to buy. Media imagery acts as a subtle psychology tool to maintain the current social and economic status quo. But we can also link this back to Henry Jenkins' convergence culture. While Jenkins sees participatory culture as a space of consumer power, Berger reminds us that the content of participation is often dictated by the dream of publicity. It also relates to the spiral of silence. Publicity creates a dominant climate of desirability. If you don't possess the products of the glamour the media promotes, you risk feeling socially isolated, which reinforces the pressure to conform to consumerist standards.
So now I'm going to explain the next topic here, in the Sagrada Familia, one of the most beautiful places in the world. So let's start with one of the most powerful concepts that Berger discusses in the Spectator Bio. Okay, we'll talk about the publicity image that makes the spectator feel dissatisfied with their current life. Okay, the glamour of the person in the advertisement isn't a personal quality. To understand is not real, but a state of being envied is always here. This envy is what makes the spectator buyer buy. The goal is to become an object of envy for the others, which Berger argues is a hollow substitute for actual happiness or for social agency. Let's go to the next point.
We see Berger's theory of glamour perfectly in modern social media influencers and personal branding. Today, we don't just consume publicity, we create it for ourselves. When we post carefully curated photos on Instagram, we are creating a publicity image of our own lives designed to be invited. The current issue here is the mental health impact of this constant spectator buyer cycle. We are constantly comparing our present selves to the glamorous future selves we see on our screens, leading to the exact sense of inadequacy Berger described back in the 17th.
In reflection, our group found it striking that while media technology has changed drastically since Berger wrote this, the underlying dream of capitalism remains the same. We need to be critical of how these images define our desires. That's Group 3. Thanks for watching.